Rich, Tennessee Homestead. How the heck are you today? It's Monday. Here we go again. Actually, it's late Sunday night. Been out working on the truck all day. And boxing stuff up and things of that nature. Been a busy weekend. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about today. YouTube. Yeah. Now, I know I just did a video last week on YouTube. And I wish I knew then what I know now. It'd have been a whole different video. But let me get to it. I had a video that I did, and I'll put a link to it down in the description if you want to go take a peek at it. It was basically talking about the Democrats and some of the silly stuff they like to do. Well, YouTube had demonetized it. And then I had filed for a review. They reviewed it and said, yeah, it's fine. Remonetized it. Once it's monetized and stuff, didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And suddenly, I guess about 2 days, it had been demonetized again by them. I didn't catch it. Nope, I didn't catch it to go do battle with them. I caught it last week, and I went and did battle with them. And they remonetized it. But what I saw in the analytics that made it even worse is I could tell that they shadow banned it. That video took off from the first minute it was launched and shot straight for the moon like a bottle rocket. Took off. Then you'll see at about 3 hours in, that video did an absolute, according to the chart, an absolute 90-degree turn and stayed that way the rest of the way through. So even though the SEO work looked good on it, should have been getting searched, should have been showing up and recommended, should have showed up in the browsers. No. Showing up nowhere. Got shadow banned. And demonetized. This time I wasn't so nice with them, and they remonetized it. 219 days after it was published. Yeah. I made a whopping $1.33 on that video. Which I guess if I calculated out the time and the editing and so forth, I probably made about a nickel an hour. Yeah, pathetic. But anyway, I won my battle with YouTube, which I guess there's something to be said about that. Whew. So, to add to that YouTube video for beginners, understand if you start saying things that they don't like, now, I'm not saying that's not true, okay, or is misinformation, all right? But if you're telling the truth, and these powers that be on these platforms don't like that truth, you got problems headed your way. Yeah. That's the reason I've limited my political talks to bar chats. I figure once a week will be enough. The only good news about all this is hearing that Apple and Android are changing up their platforms to where Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these other fine folks who like to gather information on you, Google and so on, are no longer going to have access to that through these phones shortly without asking your permission first. And you're going to have to agree to it. Now, will you get kicked off their platforms if you don't agree to it? Sure. Sure. Because that's part of their terms of service, is that you allow them this access. Now, what they're doing is they're kind of shuffling this around to put you in as the middleman. What happens if I don't want my contact information that you have on your phone released to these people? And I find out it was because of you saying they could have my information. A little like you doxing me, huh? Yeah. It's going to put a potential liability, depending on what kind of circumstances it caused, back on the actual user of those apps. That they're the ones that the person that feels damaged is going to have to go after. Something to think about, huh? See, because right now, like, if you're set up on Facebook and you sign into their app and you've got their app on your phone and so forth, up to this point, it's been pretty much you agreed to this. You agreed that Facebook can look at your contact list, can look at things you browse, can see where you're at and where you're going. They can look at your pictures. They can turn on your camera. They can turn on your microphone. They can do all these things with your phone. Okay? You no longer have the control of that phone. Done. Same thing with, Google and the rest of them. That's the way they're doing it. Now, I'm just making my switch over to DuckDuckGo. I'm done with Google. I'm just fed up with it. And you will be amazed at the additional information you'll get from that service. That if you do a Google search, try it. Sign up for it. Do it. Take the same phrase, type it into Google, and then also do the same thing to DuckDuckGo. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of information that you did not see come up on Google at all. You see, because Google likes to control what information you get. Yeah, isn't that something? I'll be darned. Yeah. Okay, to keep this from going super, super long, here's my advice. Number one, research has shown, scientists have looked at it, those cell phones and Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff causes you to have your mind to throw out extra endorphins. I think I said that right. Sorry, it's late, I'm tired. That will trigger your mind to a high. Every time somebody says, boy, that was a really smart poster. Man, I really love that meme. Or, boy, doesn't that look good? You get a little brain rush. And after a while, it becomes addictive. Much like cocaine. The American people, the world's people, are becoming addicted to these social media sites. Yeah. You don't control it. It's pretty much controlling you. If you're one of these people who the first thing you do when you open your eyes in the morning is grab that cell phone, you got a little addiction problem there. Kind of like reaching for your crack pipe. Might want to think about it for a minute. My biggest problem in the mornings is I use my phone for an alarm clock. And when it goes off and wakes me up, I go staggering toward the coffee pot, and I just forget whether I laid it in the living room or laid it in the kitchen. It's not until I either need it or I hear it ringing that I even go look for it. Not a concern. Social media is the last thing I'm concerned about first thing in the morning. Sticking my head in a cup of coffee? You bet. Looking over my mail or stuff of this nature? Yeah, I'll do that. It's about time we weaned ourselves off of that nonsense. And it looks like Apple and Android's getting ready to wean these large tech companies off of our information. Or at least you're going to have to give your cell phone provider the permission to allow them that access. Because your phones are going to be access denied unless the user says okay. Now, if you say okay, it's your business. If you don't say okay, well, you get kicked off Facebook. You bet. Terms of service, they'll probably suspend you. Facebook's looking to lose millions and millions of dollars. They're trying to get Apple in trouble as like it's some kind of monopoly. They're not going to win that case, I can guarantee you, because it's very simple. All Apple's doing, and this is their stance, is before we allow some app to access pictures, contact lists, turn on cameras and recorders, things of this nature, We force them to ask the customer's permission. We believe in privacy. Ain't a court in the land gonna side with Facebook. None. But these guys are pretty much running. Twitter's beginning to look for cover. A lot of countries are going after them, other than ours. Ours is in bed with them. But a lot of foreign countries are starting in on them, Germany, so forth, passing laws to where if they wrongly would suspend somebody off of the account, and they were acting in compliance with the terms of service, they're talking about fining them millions of dollars every time that happens. That's going to make Facebook and Twitter go to their Democratic buddies, put their arm around the neck and say, we can't pay this, children. These guys are serious over here. And we need to get serious in America. Your privacy is being taken away from you. I have nothing to hide, yeah? Well, like I said, did you ask everybody that's on your contact list if they had anything to hide? Have you? Have you say, is it okay if I sell this or give this information to third parties and to my apps so that they can track you too? Is that okay? You're going to find a lot of your friends and family going to say, no, it's not okay. Delete my tush off of that contact list. You know, think about it, girls. You know, some of you is getting out there on Tinder or whatever they call that thing, sending around racy pictures and putting your little fantasies of life out there. These tech companies have access to that. And you just might be amazed at where that shows up sooner or later. Okay? Keep it in mind. America as a whole, we need to knock this nonsense off. On Inauguration Day, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I closed Twitter and I closed Facebook, and I have nothing more to do with them. Nothing more to do with them. Ever. So, if you got me in your contact list, and you're still on Facebook, please remove me from your contact list. I do not want to share my information, contact information, with Facebook, or Twitter, or Instagram, or Google. That's Red Tessie Homestead. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And you have a wonderful week. Now that I get this off my chest, I'm going to try to edit the heck out of it. Talk to you soon.